Yet again, Stephen A. Smith, or as I call him, Stephen for A for asshole Smith, has put his foot in his mouth yet again. And this time he has managed to piss off the Asian American community based on some comments that he made towards this MLB player by the name of Shohei Otani. And I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. At least I will not be disrespectful like Stephen A. Smith was in this regard, in which has him apologizing. So basically, Stephen A. Smith, he literally sounded like a straight up white guy when he made this comment about this man right here who, of course, he is of Asian descent. He knows how to speak English, but he likes to use an interpreter because I guess he feels that his English is not as good, or he wants people to understand him better of what he is saying. So there's no problem with that. But apparently Stephen A. Smith had a problem with it, and the Asian American community had a problem with him, and they got him in check. Now, I know what you're saying. Torian, is this the moment right here? Why aren't you doing a triple P? Yes, this is a moment, but it's not the moment. Like, I don't want to fire up the band prematurely. You know, I wouldn't have even done this. Even with, well, I probably would have done it if I was doing a Michelle Beadle thing. That was a moment. But the real moment for Stephen A. would be if he gets that pink slip from ESPN and saying that your services are no longer needed. That right there is the moment that we're looking for. But this right here is a little small pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and read from Sports Illustrated so you can get an idea of what's going on, just in case you're unaware. ESPN personality Stephen A. Smith apologized on Monday after he faced backlash for comments he made regarding Angels two-way star Shohei Otani on ESPN's First Take earlier the same day. Now I'm going to read to you what he said, his post. He said, "Let me apologize right now. As I'm watching things unfold, let me say that I never intended to offend any community, particularly the Asian community, and especially Shohei Otani himself." Now listen to that. He says he never intends to offend any community, but he manages to offend the black community at every turn. And he's very unapologetic when he does it. As an African American, these are his words, keenly aware of the damage stereotyping has done to many in this country, it should have elevated my sensitivities even more. Based on my words, I failed in that regard, and it's on me, and me alone. Otani is one of the brightest stars in all of sports. He is making a difference as it pertains to inclusiveness and leadership. I should have embraced that in my comments. Instead, I screwed up. In this day and age, with all the violence being perpetrated against the Asian community, my comments, albeit unintentional, were clearly insensitive and regrettable. There's simply no other way to put it. I'm sincerely sorry for any angst I've caused with my comments on First Take this morning. Again, I am sorry, and I'll happily reiterate these words more extensively tomorrow morning as well. Guess what? They wasn't feeling his apology, and they are lighting his ass up right now as we speak, and I love it. I have my issues with the Asian American community because of stuff and propaganda they have put out about us in the last couple of months. But when a person like him gets his moment, it's free game. And what have I told y'all? I said most likely whenever these Sambos, these Sambets, and these fools who look like us but can't wait to distance themselves from us, when they get their moment, it's not going to come from us. It's going to come from other people. So far, the two moments that Stephen A. Smith has gotten that I can recall have come from white people and now Asians. But he disrespects us at every turn. He would have never did an apology to us, because I think I was reading somewhere else where they said literally around the same time as him disrespecting this guy, he disrespected some Nigerian by doing like kind of the same thing, but he didn't apologize to him because he's not made to apologize to black people. I'll say that again. He doesn't do it because he's not made to apologize to black people for what he says about us. But see, here's the thing. People like Stephen A. Smith, they get so carried away and talking shit about black people all the time that they tend to overstep their boundaries, and then they go into the no-go zone, which is what he did right here. See, he's lucky that the Asian American community does not slap him with an anti-discriminatory charge, especially since that could be seen as such. And I'm gonna read to you what his comment was. So that's why I say he's lucky that they didn't come at him with that, because they could have easily did it. And that probably would have been even worse for not only him, but for ESPN as a network. And the thing is, ESPN is already in hot water with that Rachel Nichols situation as it is, to have this tacked on top of it. While speaking on Ohtani, who will make history this week competing in the Home Run Derby, leading off and starting off on the mound for the American League in the All-Star Game, Smith made comments regarding his marketability. Ohtani is Japanese and can speak English, but feels most comfortable using an interpreter. Smith made the argument that this hurt Ohtani's case in being the face of the MLB. But when you talk about an audience gravitating to the tube or to the ballpark to actually watch you, I don't think it helps that the number one face is a dude that needs an interpreter so you can understand what the hell he's saying in this country. So basically, he's disrespecting this man's dialect. Like he said, he can speak English, but he's choosing to use an interpreter so people can better understand what he is saying. That way, people don't have to constantly ask him, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? And maybe he probably knows from experience of having to hear that, which is why he decided to just, break down and get an interpreter, which is well within his rights to do so. And Stephen A. Smith was being very disrespectful and dismissive of that. That's why I said he sounded like a white guy in that aspect, because I would expect Palm Color to say something like that. Someone tweeted and said, watching more of the segment and it did not get better. And someone else said, I'll pull the whole thing first, since First Take is re-airing on ESPN2 right now, but here's another bit. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of this clip with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman.
Yeah. Well, but the point is this, Max. If this was Bryce Harper, what would we be doing? We might be talking about baseball 5 days a week.
That's true.
That's what I'm saying.
Although to be fair, we've now talked about Ohtani this season a handful of times, which is more shine than baseball would otherwise be. Yep.
We talked about him
those
twice.
Home runs are doing plenty of talking for me. It is very difficult to learn
Really,
second
Molly?
language.
Sure?
I'm sure he's
Sure?
trying. That he's trying
Sure?
to learn English? Yeah, I think I'm sure
No.
he
I'm
is.
saying, you sure? You sure that's enough for you, Molly? How many Angels games have you watched, Molly?
Actually, I've watched a
I
lot.
haven't.
Because my best friend is married to a former pitcher. So CJ Wilson. So I actually went to a bunch of Angels games. Yeah, so if we're going to leave it there, sorry.
I
Just a
haven't,
little
but
fun
when Barry
fact about
Bonds was
me.
smacking home runs or Mark McGwire was in, I was transfixed on the tube.
So we can clearly tell who the loudmouth was right there. So listening to that, he's being very dismissive. And you had Max Kellerman there and Molly Curum, who I have an issue with her as well, but we ain't gonna get into that. Basically trying to say he's actually trying to learn English and he knows how to speak it, but because it's not too English enough for him and it's not the King's English, that's not enough for this tap dancing idiot. That's why I said when he said that, he sounded like a white guy saying something like that. But then, if y'all remember, I never did a video about it, but I'll talk about it here. Stephen A. Smith had posted some very questionable tweets. One about him, like something about Atlanta and being down there, and it was his Sodom and Gomorrah or something like that. If you know anything biblical when it comes to that, you know that is not the kind of thing you would tweet. And we all know how, for the most part, how Atlanta gets down. So a lot of people are like, okay. Then the other tweet about the money, for making money for white men or something like that. It was a real cryptic tweet. It was very weird. And I thought that it was Photoshop, but it actually wasn't. It was something he had on his mind that he put out there. No one forced his hand to actually put out that tweet. And I think it was Town Biz, and shout out to him who sent me that tweet, and he did a video about it. Like, it was just so weird. Something is seriously off with this dude. For real. I don't know what it is. I guess we can just chalk it up to serial Samboism. He said he continued by arguing that because Ohtani uses an interpreter, he's not being talked about as much as an American superstar would. I'm not going to read that again, because that's basically the text version of what he just, of what he said. So now I'm going to play this other clip that he put out on July 12, 2001, and see what he's talking about here.
My segment on Ohtani this morning on First Take. People are misinterpreting what I'm saying. I'm not talking about the state of the game. Baseball itself. Baseball's a great game, a great sport. And some of the greatest players in the world are foreign players. Tatis comes to my mind. I love this brother, what he brings to the table. And Ohtani is the second coming of Babe Ruth, okay? That's not what I was trying to say. I'm talking about the marketability and the promotion of the sport is exactly what Sports Illustrated essentially alluded to in their article last month when they talked about 28% of the players in Major League Baseball are foreign players. A lot of them need translators. You know, Spanish, it could be Mandarin, Japanese, the list goes on and on and on. If you are a sport trying to ingratiate yourself with the American public the way Major League Baseball is, because of the problems that you've been having to deal with in terms of improving the attractiveness of the sport, it helps that if you spoke the English language. It doesn't mean anything more than that. Baseball is a great game, but baseball's audience is significantly older than the NBA, the NFL audience, etc., etc. That's what I was talking about. Nothing more. We're only talking about Ohtani because he's phenomenal. He's going to be in the home run derby, and he's got 33 home runs with a 279 batting average. Plus, he can pitch, and he's the second coming of Babe Ruth, practically. We know it's an international sport. We know that that's great. And baseball having a global appeal that it is, fine. But in the United States, all I was saying is that when you're a superstar, if you can speak the English language, then guess what? That's going to make it that much easier and less challenging to promote the sport. That's all I was saying about it.
In layman terms, I can break this down in just like a much more condensed version, and I already did. Because he doesn't speak the King's English the way that Stephen A. Smith wants him to speak it, he has an issue with that. And he feels that if they're going to make this guy the face of baseball, I will say this: baseball does have a huge foreign base as far as not the fans, but more so of the players. It's a lot of Latinos, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans. Now you have this Asian guy right here. Of course, white players. There's not a lot of black players or quote unquote African American players who were born here, who are descendants here, who play in the sport of baseball. So it's a very mixed bag of people who play the sport of baseball. And I've heard some of the Latinos and Dominicans and Puerto Ricans speak, and their English isn't that better either. But he has a problem with this guy. He's upset behind that. But like I said, he was very bold to say that, considering the status with the Asian American community right now as it is. Did he really think he was not going to get any blowback? And the thing is, Stephen A. Smith said that he doubled down on what he said in the other clip before the one I just played. Then he tried to clarify what he said, and it wasn't a very good clarification. Maybe it was for him. But then only to follow that up with that long apology I read at the beginning of the article. So why did you even come out and make the previous statements if you were just going to end up, quote unquote, apologizing in the end? You could have just spared everybody that and went straight into your apology. You know why? Because ESPN got on his ass when the AAPI got on their ass. And they said, you need to do something. And he got that call. And we all know what happens when you get that call. And then that's when he had to come out and make that statement. And what's so crazy is he made the statement, and he typed it up and typed it out and put it on his social media. But he did not actually physically come on camera and make the statement in the apology. he could come on camera and talk all that shit and then come and try to clarify it in another video. But when it came to the actual apology, he couldn't say anything. I guess he didn't want to get on camera with all that egg on his face. After posting the video explaining his argument, he continued, "Amazing that folks still don't know me after all these years. If I'm wrong about something, I will apologize." That's funny, because he's been wrong about a lot of stuff considering talking about black people, and he is yet to apologize for any of it. If I'm wrong about something, I will apologize, allegedly, especially if I unintentionally offended any group of people, because it's the right thing to do. Period. I'm black. I would know. He loves to insert his blackness when he offends other groups of people. In his written apology, see, written, not recorded, written, Smith said he'd reiterate his regret Tuesday morning during First Take. In this day and age with all the violence, I already read that part. But the point of the matter is, he did all of that tap dancing. He stepped outside of his boundaries, and the Asian American community got on his ass. And this goes back to what I said before, that whenever it comes to dealing with people like that, we're not the ones that's going to issue his karma. It's going to come from these other groups. But he will try to form a beeline and come back to the community. But we're not going to allow that to happen, because we know what type of person he is. He is just like your typical loudmouth who thinks they know every damn thing. Like, you heard how loud he was in that segment, just being even his inside voice is loud. Like, how is your inside voice loud? But that's Stephen A. for Asshole Smith for you, in the flesh. And the thing is, they keep him there for ratings. He's literally like the Bill O'Wife beater of ESPN, or well, was, because Bill O'Wife ain't there no more. So we'll say he's like the Tucker Carlson of that network, and that's no compliment.